Here is a comparison of the 4th gen 2025 BMW X3. We have the xdrive30 versus the M50. B48, B58, which one is going to be better? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. We're going to start off with the xdrive30, which now is standard all-wheel drive system on both variants. It's going to have a different fascia. It's also going to sit up just a little bit more so because you have 8.5 inches of clearance opposed to 8.3 inches of clearance. Standard L-shaped headlight assembly, full LEDs. The lower is going to have the satin aluminum and the kidney grille going into the X30. The design, it's a little bit different because you got the horizontal bars and the vertical bars that's implemented. Going M50, you get the standard iconic glow around it, and it looks a little bit more dynamic the way it integrates into the headlamp assembly. The lower bit is going to keep the gloss black and 8.3 inches of clearance, but it's not just performance that has changed. Going into the M50, they have reworked the steering. Stiffer anti-roll bars with revised pivot bearings, bigger control arm mounts, uprated front axle geometry with the camber, but you will not receive any air suspension or rear wheel steering. You have to go into the X5, which only makes sense. And that's around 7 inches longer than this. So even though we have increased over an inch in length and width, and we're an inch taller, it's still kind of that sweet spot if you're not wanting to go X1 and X2, even though they have increased in length, because you're gonna have more cargo capacity here. And underneath the hood of the xdrive30 is gonna have that B48, which is a 2.0 liter BMW twin power turbo. That's producing 255 horsepower with 295 pound-feet of torque paired to an 8-speed Steptronic automatic transmission. Achieving 27 mpgs for the city and 33 mpgs for the highway, you're up 7 horsepower and 37 pound-feet of torque over the prior gen. And you're getting xDrive standard. So it is something to consider when you're thinking of rivals like Audi and Mercedes, because that's not going to be the case. Flared out fenders that's encasing these upgraded 20-inch staggered wheels. That's a 255/45 up front and a 285/40 out back. And a near perfect 50-50 weight distribution, because you're at 50.5, 49.5. Towing has increased with a max on the M50 at 4,850 pounds, which last year you could only tow up to 4,400 pounds. And as for the M50, you get the B58. Both vehicles will have the 48-volt mild hybrid technology, but here, 393 horsepower, that's up 11 horsepower with 428 pound-feet of torque. That's up 59 pound-feet of torque. The M50, for me, is the way to go, because all of the work that they put into this design is not just aesthetics. It's something that's going to make the drive better, which you're going to see in a second with these upgraded 21-inch staggered wheels. This is a 235/40 up front with a 285/35 out back. The blue brake calipers is part of the M Sport package. That's going to house 4 pistons in the front with a single floating caliper in the rear. The roof line has been lowered and it integrates into the rear as well as the lower spoiler, so it keeps a dynamic profile on all 4 corners with the M-Spec side view mirrors, M rear differential with M elements on the exterior, so it highlights the sport configuration of what you're getting, which is an updated sports car lifted up into an SUV. Now, a con to me is they do not have any M variant, even though they have increased so much to both of these in the guts itself, making it a lot more performance driven than the prior. I still would like to see an M or an M competition trickle in, because imagine putting that power underneath everything that's been reworked. Standard LED taillights, the rear you're going to notice a difference. The lower, quad exhaust tips with the diffuser, front and rear parking sensors, 360-degree reverse camera. We have the premium package, which is on both 2 of these vehicles. Both will have a flush-mounted rear window with the long roof spoiler that integrates into the air deflector. But let's face it, going into the xdrive30, it's going to be more simplified, and it should be, because if you don't have a true M variant, how else are you going to make it look more dynamic? I mean, let me know your thoughts on that. Power liftgate that's standard on both, as well as the same cargo that starts at 31.5 cubic feet of storage. It's going to fold all the way inwards. You get a little storage pocket, LED interior lights, bag holders, 12-volt charger with another bag holder here. You have the privacy cover. Underneath the floor of the M50, we do not have the spare tire, but xdrive30 we do. To maximize the cargo to 67.1 cubic feet, you have to go into the rear and fold these seats down. And it'll fold at a 40-20-40 split or a 60-40 split, maxing the cargo capacity. But we need to go inside, start it up, so you can hear the B58 and the B48 exhaust note. The xdrive30, the key fob, and to go inside, 2 14-way power seat adjustment. Heated front seats is standard. It is also a sport seat interior. You get the graphics for the BMW Curve 1 panel. Manual cushion extensions, which I don't actually need anymore because they've extended the length here, making it a lot more so easy for somebody tall. Memory for the driver. And you can tell the interior has been refreshed with the SensaFin dashboard, heads-up display, and that curved panel. Let's fire it up. .9 touch screen with wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming, Bluetooth audio, driver recorder, iDrive9. That's a lot to take in. We have the premium package, so when you put it into reverse, 360-degree reverse camera, full trajectory for the front and the rear with reverse assist. Click into the more and you have the 3D view, which you can click onto the icons to go all around the vehicle. It's going to look the same on the M50, so we'll just show all the tech here. You can also show for the car wash view, that gives you the trajectory for the front so you don't scratch the upgraded wheels, as well as cleaning the cameras with the standard dual climate control. We're going to engage it into sport mode and check out what it does. Changes the ambient lighting. Makes you feel like you're in a little sports car. Touch pads are going to be implemented to turn on and off the air vents. That is cool. Driver focus setup, as you can see, this bulges out, so it makes it a little bit less space for the passenger. There's no pass-through or any sleeve. This is huge for the X3 here. All that space that you have with the wireless charger and the digital key for BMW. With 2 USB ports, gloss black elements, and the iDrive with the rocker to put it into gear, and your driver mode select. Whereas on the M50 you'll have the M badging, and this is the key fob for it. You'll get the gloss black that's going to surround it with that ambient lighting, and the same look here, but we'll have the cloth interior that is surrounding into the dashboard. That's going to be one difference, which is going to be the same that is in the Mini Cooper, but this is also recycled material. So I do like that. Just not a fan of the material myself. It's soft to touch, opens up into the same size storage pocket with a 12-volt. The steering wheel is going to be a lot more sporty here. You get the 12 o'clock flat bottom, M badging, cross-stitch, multi-function, as well as the paddle shifts. Whereas on the xdrive30, it's going to keep the flat bottom and it's a 2-spoke setup, but you're noticing a little bit of a difference. The gauge cluster is going to be the same configuration, so you have an array of different content for the driver, as well as increasing the different size for your heads-up display. One thing to note, when you're in sport mode, changing it, now you can change the actual layout to the gauge cluster configuration. That's the only way you could do so. Door panel and dash is more seamless here. However, you get the Harman Kardon when you go M50. One touch up and down for all the windows with a long storage pocket that is tailored for your lunch, your beverage, and some mints so you don't smell bad. Going into the back, this is the opening that you have to fit 3 or 2 more occupants. Fold this down, and you got cup holders with an armrest. Air vents in the center, 2 USB ports, or a third climate control for the M50 with storage behind both of the front seats and a connector, no USB ports. You got to go into the X5. Headroom is actually good, as well as the leg space, and the door is going to have sunshades with the same pattern that's found in the front. We do not receive the manual sunshade. It's going to be more sporty, and the same size storage pocket are going to be in both, so really just a beverage and little snack area. Sliding into the center, the floor isn't completely flat. It's the same case on both, so you'll share feet butt, leg, and shoulder space, which is to be expected, but it's not that bad. Even with headroom, it's still doable. And that's the nice thing about the X3. All right, here's the deal. You got 255 horsepower opposed to 393. It's gonna be night and day difference of a drive, but near 50-50 weight distribution, that's exactly what you get on both two of them. 0 to 66 seconds here with this xdrive30 opposed to the m50 that's getting 4.4 seconds. Let's see how well she goes. Oh, I like it. It hangs in, staying planted, no lift. Exhaust filtering in good. And brakes are always good in BMW, so you don't have to worry about getting M Sport brakes. But when you go M50, it only makes sense. Now for the exit. It just takes off. It's a smooth ride, but it's firm. So when you're driving it normal on an everyday basis, you're gonna feel a lot of the imperfections. The seats are a lot more firm. Man, I'm just loving how it hugs the road. No screech, nothing. Look at this. It'll get you a speeding ticket really quick. So even if you don't tick the box for the M50, it's still a fun driving vehicle. It sits up high enough. You have over 8 inches of clearance. The windows are a little bit more sleek, so it keeps that sporty look in the interior. And if you want it to be more composed, just change the driving mode. Now, the disadvantage to this, the sound deadening, it's improved, but it's still not as good as I would like. Considering they have improved so much to this vehicle, I don't think that they forgot about it. It's just, it's a box on wheels. So when you're considering that today's a breezy day, I'm gonna leave it alone. I think that they did an excellent job overall. It's gonna take me to some pros and cons. Starting off with the pros is you're getting BMW iDrive 9.0. So the technology is awesome. Interior, it looks more sporty. On a con to it, passenger side, the dashboard bulges out way too much. You're losing leg space, knee space. Anyone that's tall, it's not going to be as pleasurable. And the air vents, at least 3 of them, are really derived for the driver instead of the passenger. And the same thing with the way the screens lay out. I'm okay with a driver focus setup. However, when you're in a smaller SUV opposed to the X5, it does make a dramatic difference when you have occupants riding with you. And to show you what I mean by the rough ride. You're gonna feel everything. Upgraded 20-inch wheels, it's a staggered wheel setup. I like the futuristic design, but I dislike this bottle look that they put around the vehicle because we don't have any crystal lights. These are all plastic aesthetics for the 7 different colors of ambient lighting. So kind of wish they would have toned it down a little bit. It's very in your face. I'm okay with the door panel when I'm in the M50, but going into a base trim, it almost feels like an M50 the way it sits, but it's too futuristic for what we're really trying to achieve. We want a sport vehicle with technology and something that we know is going to be a little bit more on the firm side, but sporty exterior and interior. And I feel like we're just going digital the way they're looking with this interior design. The back seats is actually more comfortable than the front. And as for lag, you're gonna feel it a little bit more. A pro to the vehicle is how much more room you have in the width. You don't feel as close to the occupants next to you, but then going back to the firm, everywhere you put your arms to rest is going to have firm material. So a long drive can get a little bit more tiring. My legs are not up in the air, so I do like that, where they've extended the butt area for the seats and adding the cushion extensions. I mean, it literally will go to my knees. I'm at 6'3". So when you're considering how much more length they've put on the seat itself, I do like that. because it helps. I mean, when you're going into Mercedes and Audi, they kind of skimp a little bit with the butt area, giving you a little bit less, so you have to use the manual cushion extensions, and what happens on a long journey, you get tired because your knees are just sitting up in the air. That's not going to be the case here. I know the price is a substantial increase, but one thing to consider is not just over 130 horsepower and over 130 pound-feet of torque and all the rework for the steering, some of the suspension, but even towing. When you go this route, it's only at 4,001 pounds. Which you lose from the prior gen because they were all standard at 4,400 pounds. You have to go into the M50 in order to get that 4,850 pounds for towing capacity. So it is not necessarily just performance, it's all round upgrades when you go M50. Let's see how that one performs. 138 horsepower more, 133 pound-feet of torque more. Is it a difference? Well, that's what we're gonna see. Put it in boost, here we go. I mean, we're already going a lot faster. As for the curve, same thing. Even though the weight distribution isn't as good, handles better. You can really feel the reworked steering and the stiffer roll bars. Just so playful. I mean, I'm gonna go to jail if I keep doing this. That's how crazy this vehicle really is. And I'm not trying to oversell it like I wanna buy the car tomorrow. I'm just saying, when you got 393 horsepower with 428 pound-feet of torque on an everyday driving vehicle, that's a lot. So don't think 4.4 seconds is like, oh, well, that's slow. It's not, because you have a 51.8, 49.2 weight distribution that can do this with that. And I mean, I'm taking corners like you wouldn't believe. Now in the xdrive30, I was doing good, but this is going like 10, 20 miles per hour more on almost every bend, to near 30 miles per hour more. So it is a lot different. The seats are more comfortable, even though everything's more tuned for sport with the M Sport differential. It doesn't feel sportier. It actually feels more soft than the xdrive30. There is some cons. The interior, I feel like BMW kind of let us down because it just doesn't feel as upscale as it normally does. They're doing this Mini Cooper vibe, and I'm not liking it. I do like the ambient lighting, but give me the crystal lights if you're gonna do it. Don't give me these plastic aesthetics that look like a milk jug. And for the passenger, I mean, like I was saying on the X30, it's just too much. It's hard for somebody tall to utilize space in the footwell area. I don't know what they were thinking by bulging out the dash so much. We know it's a driver-focused setup. The only great thing that you got going with this interior design is if only one person drives and there's people in the back, because you're gonna have a lot of fun mashing on the gas. You got good brakes because you got 4 pistons in the front, and the seats are even more comfortable in the back. Cargo capacity is good. Upping from the xdrive30 to this, that also gives you that max tow. I mean, I gotta do it again. Look at this, hit the boost. Man, it is so fun, unbelievable. The soundtrack comes into play. You don't wanna hear it? All right, change the driving mode. Now you're gonna hear some road noise. It's actually a little bit more road noise though in this than the xdrive30. But overall, build and drive, I like this a lot better. And I know you're probably gonna say in the comments, well, it's a lot more money in price, but you're getting a lot more vehicle also. And these are good, reliable vehicles. The B58 and the B48, both two of them are good engines. You get a lot of performance out of it. So you could keep this a long time, but then what I'm thinking is the interior. You have this material that's found in the Mini, that's recycled materials. I'm all for that. I think BMW does an excellent job with that. But just think for a second, you spill coffee, you spill soda, or your sport drink, whatever it is you're drinking. You come from the gym, you're coming from a review like me, now you gotta clean it. What's gonna happen? You're gonna scrub it, scrub it, scrub it. Think of a carpet. You're gonna have that material coming up. It's not something that's as desirable. I like the steering wheel, you get the 12 o'clock. I just feel very sporty and yet composed. I could take this one for a long journey and I'm not gonna be tired. Whereas when I go into the xDrive30, I actually feel more tired because the seats just feel more firm. So don't tick the box for the vegan interior, go for the full leather. You're gonna see a difference even with the sports seat layout. Ventilated seats, it's great. Today's a breezy day, so I don't really need it. Try climate control settings so everybody in the cabin is taken care of. Cargo capacity is good. I mean, it ticks the box for a lot. Going back to comparable rivals, hands down, I feel that you're gonna have a lot more fun going into the M50. So thinking about Audi, great vehicle, but it's not gonna be as performance driven as this. Mercedes is gonna feel torque happy, but this is hands down going to be a faster drive than both of them. So for me, which one is better? I would go M50. If you can't afford the new one, wait till it's pre-owned and you'll be more happy. Turn radius is about 2 lanes. We're putting it into boost. Let's rock and roll. It literally was like a symphony with my voice. That's how much power you get. Night and day difference in drive. I would not recommend if you drive this first to go to that one because you're not going to be pleased. If you drive that one, don't get me wrong, it's a great vehicle, but it's more everyday. Just the fun comes out when you go into the M50. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank BMW of Wesley Chapel for giving us these two 2025 BMW X3s. The xDrive30 versus the M50 for our car comparison review.